Good evening. It's Monday evening. We're back. It's 2022. The two main men are here. It's myself, Mr. David Smith, and to my right is Mr. Regan Stevenson. Regan, how are this Monday evening? We're back.
David, Dave, we are back and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. So, yep, we've been on holiday the last few weeks. There's some guys that are still on holiday. There's some guys that are currently in a hiatus. First and foremost, we don't pay anybody, so I don't know where they're getting the money from. And speaking about money, we're on to transfer talk, Regan. It's been a busy day in the transfer front. Any highlights from yourself, first and foremost, before I go round every club?
For me, it's got to be Jimmy McGrath for Aberdeen because I think he's a player that I've thought very highly of for a very long time. So I think if Aberdeen can get that one over the line, it'd be a great deal.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, speaking about Aberdeen, they've obviously had a bid in from Blackburn Rovers today regarding Ryan Hedges. Is it a like for like replacement, do you think, if McGrath does come at Bedordry, albeit obviously end the season?
Yeah, I think it is to be honest because I think Hedges is a very good player. I like him as well. Actually, thought he might join Celtic a couple of years ago when he was playing well under Derek McInnes. But yeah, Blackburn would be a great move because Blackburn they're flying at the top of the championship at the moment, Dave. So no, I think Blackburn would be a great move for him.
Yep, absolutely. So let's get on to the main talking points then, but then we'll go around every club. Jota, what are you thinking regarding Jota? There's foregone conclusions. There's potential formalities with this, but would you like to see a deal completed soon?
I would like to see a deal completed in January, definitely, but it's not one that's I'm pushing the panic button. But if it's definitely going to get done, then it's a statement of intent from Celtic and from Michael Nicholson and Ange Postecoglou. See, one thing I just want to go on to, Dave, is that I just think that Ange Postecoglou must be one of the very first Celtic managers that I've seen being good, that's had proper backing from the board. Because if you look at it, Brendan Rodgers in January transfer window, he brought in Buck from West Brom and Jeremy Toyan. So you compare that to what Ange Postecoglou is getting, and you say um, the board are definitely all in the way that Celtic fans are all in. I would say that they're definitely buying into what Ange brings, and they obviously trust him to to bring a player in through past players he's brought in, such as Kyogo, and we know how well he's done in Scotland, Dave.
And can I throw a curveball here and say, if Eddie Howe had the shambles that it proved to be in the end, do you think? Do you think? Do you think? Obviously, he would have been backed in the same way that Postecoglou has been backed.
No, and I think the whole Eddie Howe fiasco is just showing that um, everything in life happens for a reason, and people were talking about Eddie Howe signing Trippier for Newcastle, right? Now I'm going to tell you something. This is not an inventive signing for Eddie Howe because Eddie Howe knew Trippier from his time at Burnley, where Eddie Howe was terrible. So people saying that Newcastle have got a statement of intent, like this is not a statement of intent. Trippier is 30 years old. He's had a couple of good years in Spain. Yeah, I agree with that. But I think Eddie Howe's not got um, the same attraction to players such as Ange Postecoglou, I would say, because you look at the Australian guy that Celtic are currently linked with, Dave, the attacking midfielder, I can't remember his name. Um, do you know who I'm talking about, Dave?
The Australian midfielder, sorry,
Yeah, that Celtic are linked with. I forgot his name.
McGree.
Yeah, well, I haven't right. Well, he's basically stated that to work under Ange Postecoglou is a dream for him. And see, to me, Dave, it just shows that even though we didn't know Ange Postecoglou a year ago, a lot of people hold Ange in a very, very high regard. And that can't be underestimated because you look at players such as Dyson Maeda. I mean, I'm just looking forward to just seeing him in a Celtic shirt, and obviously Ange Postecoglou knows him. He's won the title with him, So I think what Andrew's doing is he knows that he's he's a big fish in a small pond in Scotland. He knows that he needs to go and get the right players. But see these players in Japan and Australia, they're not costing a lot of money, so it's perfect for the board as well.
Yeah. What do you think about McGrath? Do you think he'll be a good signing? Regan?
Do I think it'll be a good signing?
Yeah.
What I would say on that, Dave, is that Ange Postecoglou he trusts the guy, and he obviously sees a lot of potential in him. So who am I to doubt Ange Postecoglou, because he's brought a lot of good players in, and I've got full faith in him for the Celtic supporters out there that he's going to have a very good transfer window.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the January transfer window is more important for Ange Postecoglou than it is for Rangers in this precise moment in time? Not because of weak positionings, more because for Ange Postecoglou to make a statement.
Yeah, and um, I think the whole thing with Celtic as well is Celtic fans won't want to hear this, but I think Rangers squad depth is a lot better than Celtic's. So I think if you're Rangers, like for instance, I don't know, me and you've spoken about Parson on the show, and I'm so glad he's left, right? But if you look at Rangers as a squad, they've got players that can fill the gaps and do well. I don't think Celtic have got that, and you've seen that when McGregor and Kyogo was out injured, Dave.
Yeah. Now, before I continue, I want to go back to a wee while back because we've not been on in a very long time. I think from a Celtic persuasion, Regan, they've recruited really well. Maeda, good signing. Josuch Aducci, good signing. And Rio Hatate, also another good acquisition.
Yeah, Dave, I think they're all very good signings. I mean, if you look at Hatate, who they signed from Japan, Hatate, if I pronounce it right, people can let me know in the comments. But yeah, I think he's been named one of the best midfield players in Japan. So yeah, I think that just shows you what Ange Postecoglou is dealing with here, and and what I like about Ange when he first came through the door as well, Dave. He spoke about see for him as a manager, a big thing's mentality. And if you look at the team that that this player's coming from, the midfield player, he's coming from a team that's just won the title. And Andrew was saying that as well. It's very important that he knows what it takes to win, and it's because he's obviously going to be doing that at Celtic. And I think he's obviously going to be do really well with Callum McGregor as well, because if you look at Callum McGregor, I mean, if Callum McGregor was injured, you didn't really have anyone to fill in there.
Yep, absolutely. Now we're going to go around every club now, but we have some news, Regan. We have some news, and Hibernian have took in Rocky. Now, let me get this right because I need to check my phone. I'm on my phone continuously, by the way, viewers, because obviously I'm trying to see if there's any updates the next hour that we don't want to miss. Rocky Bushiri and at Hibernian. What's your thoughts first and foremost before I continue?
I don't know really too much about him, Dave, but I trust Sean Maloney and that he's got a good eye for a player, because obviously he's he's worked with a lot of good coaches, he's worked with a lot of good players as well. So yeah, I'm not going to doubt Sean Maloney. But I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say that this transfer window could really push Hibs up to that third place in the table.
There we go, Regan. You won't see it, but 9 minutes ago, Hibernian Football Club, just as soon as we were on. Thank you very much to everybody involved with that club. Much appreciated. You do it exactly when we're on. So, Souttar and Siegrist. Now, our contributor Colin Watt has says that they've reportedly agreed deals with Rangers, but, Colin, sorry, if you're listening, fine, but I don't agree with anything you say or anything that happens unless there's the scarf on the top of your banner, right? You can say anything you want about players agreeing deals with clubs, but ultimately it's got to be scarf over the head, Regan.
Yeah, because I get told that John McGinn was signed for Celtic, and look how that turned out. I've not slept for the last 2 years, something like that, Dave. I'm still not over it because I think John McGinn's a fantastic player, and I think he should go to a bigger team than Aston Villa, because no disrespect to Aston Villa, but they're not going to win much. And I think John McGinn's a class player. But going back to what you said there about
Souttar and Siegrist.
Souttar and Siegrist, I don't think Siegrist will go. Where are we saying Siegrist is going to go, Dave?
Rangers.
No, I don't think Siegrist will go to Rangers. If he goes to Rangers, he's just wasting his career. Because if you look at it from this perspective, right, what is Siegrist going to go to Rangers for when he's basically just seen a fairly capable goalkeeper in John McLaughlin? Basically, I think he's only played something like 2 games in the last 2 seasons.
Here's the argument. Al McGregor hasn't signed a new deal, and he's 39. He's unsure whether he's continuing. John McLaughlin is out of contract end of the season, which means Rangers will be looking for a goalkeeper.
Alan McGregor is he's going to be there for the rest of the year. So for me, if you're Siegrist, I don't understand why you are wasting your career sitting on the bench.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we're going to go to every club now, right? Aberdeen first and foremost. So we've obviously spoken about Jamie McGrath potentially coming in, and Ryan Hedges going the other way, but Ryan Hedges obviously going to Blackburn Rovers. Where do you think Aberdeen need to strengthen, and in what areas?
I think I've heard a lot of things about Xander Clark going to Aberdeen. I heard that last week from St Johnstone, but for me, I would say centre back. I know that big Andrew Considine's coming back from his terrible injury that he suffered during the UEFA Cup game, but I think centre back, maybe another player in the midfield, and maybe maybe another winger, because I think if you're looking at the whole situation, they've got Johnny Hayes, they've got Watkins, they've got Jet, but I think Aberdeen's missing someone that can just take the game by the scruff of the neck. Have they still got Niall McGuinness there?
Yep, but I'm going to go and speak about a player you probably don't know a lot about, but they've signed him over the weekend. Dante Polvara. Aberdeen Football Club has agreed a deal for Dante Polvara, a highly regarded New York City FC academy graduate, in a 2.5-year deal subject to secure an advisor. 21-year-old, who is an imposing midfielder, chose to attend top-ranked Johnstone University, where he's continued to develop in the college system, with form that saw him recognised by United soccer coaches as they selected him in the All-America first team. The point before asking the question is, he turned down a Bundesliga deal. The club wasn't mentioned, but he turned down a deal to join a club in the Bundesliga in order to join Aberdeen. That is some statement from Aberdeen as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, do we know that to be true, Dave? Definitely.
Well,
because
unless Dave Cormack has lied on social media, then it's true.
Yeah, well, that would be a great coup for Aberdeen. The only thing I can say on that is good luck to him, because he probably thinks he's going to play more football at Aberdeen, which is probably true. But if you're looking at it, if it was me, would I be in Scotland in the cold weather, and pretty depending if Aberdeen can do on the Scottish Cup, or would I go to Germany? Probably go to Germany, but no, we'll hope he does well. And I think Aberdeen have shown that they've done well in the American market with the big guy up front this season. He's been great so far, and if this is a route that Dave Cormack's going down, then fair play to him.
One pointer that Cormack looked at was Calvin Ramsey and Jack McKenzie in terms of long-term player development, just in terms of the fact that they've went into Aberdeen and pretty much been bled into the first team and have a look back. Basically, they've came in and made their respective positions whenever they've played their own. And one thing I would make one point about Dante is he's played alongside Gio Reyna of Dortmund and Joe Scarlett of Mönchengladbach. So he's played with a lot of quality players, even though he's a young player.
Yeah, I mean, and that can only stand him in good stead, Dave, in terms of his progression going forward, and hopefully he does well in Scottish football, because you being the resident Aberdeen watcher a lot, Dave, you'll know that they've had some great players over the years, such as James Maddison, who's went and done some great things as well. So hopefully he can do well and make a lasting impression for the Aberdeen fans.
Yep, absolutely. And they've also been busy in the youth academy front as well, with 3 players signing new deals. And Connor Bannon returned to the club, having had a good first half of the season at Celtic Hearts. And he'll be looking to go and break into the first team at some given opportunity now, considering he did well breaking prior to his injury. And then obviously was at Celtic and made a pretty good start to the season for Kevin Thompson's side there as well.
Yeah, no, he definitely will. But the only thing is that Dave Cormack is not Dave Cormack. Stephen Glass is under a bit of pressure at Aberdeen. So will he want to throw you your fin when he's got his job on the line? Because we know that he went through that bad spell of 1-1-12. I think it was, Dave. Was that right?
Yeah,
And
correct. Yep.
if they go through that again, then I think he'll not be in a job. So it's a bit of a catch-22, because obviously you want to bed in the young players, but also is in a bit of a sticky situation, because if he beds in the youth players but Aberdeen get beat 2 or 3-0 most games, then people will be calling for his head.
Yep, absolutely. Now, when we look at Aberdeen, I think they need a goalkeeper in, as you rightly touched upon there, with Xander Clark being linked with the Dons. Maybe an extra defender, because they've got in their midfielder. I think they're 2 players away from having a good nucleus about them.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, I want to ask you this. I've been impressed with Sean Longstaff. Obviously, he joined Aberdeen, right? But he's not really got a chance. He played well down in Newcastle a couple of times, but he's not really had a chance at Aberdeen. Do we know if he's staying on or he's going back to
Well,
Newcastle?
he's back to Newcastle, yeah. Unfortunately, didn't materialise for both club or player, and Stephen Glass not rightly, pushed him under the bus a little bit, because he was on a press conference start of December, where he pretty much put Longstaff under the bus, saying his performances haven't been good enough. And if Glass is going out in the public and saying that, then what chance do you have, really?
Yeah, but for me, he didn't really get a chance, to be honest.
Exactly.
But see, when he first came in, I was thinking he was a kind of replacement for Ferguson. But I don't know what you know, Dave. Obviously, you're involved in the media as well. So, do you know if there's any interest in Lewis Ferguson? Because I know there was.
I don't think there is, no.
Because I know there was Watford and Birmingham in the summer window there, but I just obviously he's a great player, and hopefully Aberdeen can keep a hold of him. But he would be a player that I would expect to go down south, because maybe not this window, but maybe in the summer. See in the same way that Ryan Christie went down to Bournemouth, maybe find a team like Fulham or something, build his way up and go through the Championship.
Is Calvin Ramsey ready for an upgrade, do you think? Not an upgrade in terms of Aberdeen Football Club, but do you think he's ready to move to England, because he's had a few offers? Well, not offers, but he's been linked with a few clubs, sorry.
Dave, I've got a mixed feeling on this, because I see Aaron Hickey over in Italy, and I say maybe Italy's the perfect breeding ground for him, or is it best that he stays in Aberdeen? I don't know what your thoughts on it are, because I think that if he sees Aaron Hickey, then he'll think that it's probably the best way to go, as over to Italy.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ramsey has the capabilities of moving across to England. I mean, if Nathan Patterson can move to England, despite the fact that he's not exactly played a lot of games in a Rangers jersey and had a star-like period, and that's really been it, then there's nothing to say that Calvin Ramsey wouldn't look out of place in England, because he would he would do well for a lot of clubs, and I mean, he wouldn't really be a like for like player in a Man City or a Chelsea, but he'd be a like for like player in a Burnley or a I'm trying to think Crystal Palace or Leicester because
Yeah,
Brendan Rodgers was very much interested in Ramsey.
yeah, Dave, because you'll know this as well. But John Joe Kenny's getting a game down in Everton, and John Joe Kenny was absolutely awful for Celtic last year. And Neil Lennon pretended to tell the Celtic fans that he scouted him for months and he done this. But Celtic brought him in at the last day or so at the window when there were so many points behind just to please the fans. But this was a guy that was never going to make it at Celtic, and he's now making it at Everton Football Club, and you can make it that what you will, Dave, because
I always make a point to people in football circles that it's the gaffer that will either determine or diminish your playing career, right? Because if you play for a good gaffer, that's it. People are in for you. You're in the news. You're in the spotlight. But if you're a player that's diminishing because of a gaffer, you'll find that your value and your stock will deteriorate very much, and that could have been the case for Kenny. But then Rafa Benitez comes into Everton and bang, he's back in the spotlight again.
yeah, but I don't think as much as Celtic didn't pull up any trees last season, I think he showed his the defensive his defensive frailties at Celtic. So I just don't see how he's doing. So he's getting a game down there. But fair play to him.
I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a question. How do you think he'd have got on in the current Silk side?
Um, I would rather have Tony Ralston and Joseph Juranovic, but I think he would get on decent because of the playing style in the football that they're playing. But I still think that Tony Ralston and Joseph um, are better players than him, to be honest.
Absolutely. Oh, and we welcome any fan across Scottish football, English football, world football, basically. And we've got a Darlington fan who says they were made bankrupt in 2011, reformed in 2012, demoted 4 leagues. We're currently a fan-owned National League North club. We've had 3 promotions to date. Well, congratulations to everybody at Darlington. Good to see a fan-owned. It's the way forward. So keep it going to the guys at Darlington. You're all doing some great work there. We've kind of touched upon Celtic Regan, but Cameron Carter-Vickers, how much is he a priority for Celtic right now in terms of getting a permanent deal?
Yeah, I think he's a big priority because if you look at Starfelt, I've not been a big fan of him. I think he's been decent, but um, I think Cameron Carter-Vickers just brings that presence, the big figure that Celtic need, and he's also shown his capabilities on the ball as well. And Ange Postecoglou seems to have made another great signing there. And I think Celtic would be totally daft not to pay the money that Tottenham are after because if you look at it, people might say, well, they've got Julian, Stephen Welsh, but I think Vickers has been so underrated this season. But he's brought real solidity to that backline. Because if you look at past years, I know a lot of people moaned about Boyata, but Boyata was a good player. Come on, you don't play for Belgium national squad if you're not a good player. And this was a guy that won 3 trebles at Celtic, so you can't be a bad player. So I think for Vickers, I think Celtic's become a home for him. So I think this it'd be perfect for him.
Do you think Celtic need to add in other positions, or does Celtic have the best squad for the time being? Where
I,
do you like to see them, Stephen?
I think they need to add a winger and get rid of Mikey Johnson. I think they need
Well,
to.
he's linked with Dundee United.
Yeah, I think that would be perfect for him because I said on the show last week that I think he needs to be the Ryan Christie at Aberdeen situation, where he goes off and he does well for say Aberdeen or Dundee United. No disrespect to them, but if he goes there and pulls up trees and then that just shows Ange Postecoglou what he's made of. Instead, he's not going to play much. I would also like to see a left back. I keep banging on about this, but what's the point of having the best midfield players, the best strikers, and you're going to play somebody like Greg Taylor in the left back? I'm sorry, but Greg Taylor is not up to it, and you're not going to progress in Europe or even to win titles with Greg Taylor as your left back. I know Celtic have had some probably worst left backs over the years that I could probably rhyme off, but I'm just not a fan of him. I just think Celtic need to progress in that left back position. And maybe a goalkeeper, because if you look at Joe Hart, he was out against St Johnstone and he got injured against Motherwell. So I'm thinking maybe a goalkeeper. And for me, I'm thinking David Marshall.
Lucky 67s came in here and says we need another CB's winger and a striker, and that's it. And that's probably it. I mean, Starfelt has been exposed time and time again, and a centre half and a capable centre half alongside Carter Vickers would probably do the job and probably make Celtic a lot more tougher than they are already.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a suggestion for centre back. I would go and sign John Souttar right now, because as much as Rangers are stalling over the situation and possibly signing him, I think it would be great for Celtic to go and sign him. The one player I don't want them to sign is Porteous. I think Porteous is he's too rash in the tackle, but I think he's got a big future as well. But yeah, I think I would go for John Souttar, or else I would maybe look down south at someone that is maybe out of contract, or a free agent at the moment. One person that I was interested to ask you about, Dave, is Danny Rose. Now, Danny Rose is a free agent, because he's not got a club now. He's been told by Watford that he can leave. So surely he would be a good option at left back, because he knows Joe Hart he's played at a very good level as well, Dave.
Celtic have been renowned under Ange Postecoglou for signing players out the box, Joe Hart being one, Kyogo, Jota. And I think this would be another good acquisition from Celtic, because I mean, Celtic in the past have been renowned for signing players that have kind of been playing in this country, or indeed playing players or signing players that have kind of had a relation or been in a bubble with something affiliated to Scottish football. Liam Scales, nobody knew about him. He's came in against Dundee United away from home at Tannadice, and put in a stellar performance. So Ange Postecoglou in recruitment has been like chocolates in terms of they've all been lovely.
Yeah, I mean, so I can see someone in the comments that said that Taylor's improved under Ange, which I agree with. But do I think he's a long-term success for Celtic for the next 3 to 4 years? Definitely not. Because let me put it this way, Dave. Right? I mean, you don't go and sell Kieran Tierney and then bring in Greg Taylor. It's just not possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good question. Why do you think John Souttar Reagan would be an Ange Postecoglou player?
Because his brother's half Australian. No, because I just think he's very good in the ball. He can properly defend, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think if you're looking at selling Stephen Mills to Italy, I think John Souttar would be the perfect replacement.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know Celtic have not back an approach, but I still think there's a potential that Stephen Mills could be off, because I was reading that Celtic are looking for around £4 million for Stephen Mills. Now, that could easily be met by an Italian club, so I do see that potential being there, Dave.
Absolutely. Right, we're going to go to Rangers. Obviously, Siegrist and Souttar has been heavily linked with the club. They've been very quiet, first and foremost, in the transfer market so far.
Yeah, they have, and I'm not surprised because the strength of the squad, like I said earlier. But in terms of Rangers, I just think they'll be looking to add that one or two bits of quality to strengthen that squad. But one of the things that I'm surprised about is that they're not um, acquiring from a top right back, just in terms of Nathan Patterson's away, and they've only got James Tavernier now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know people say, well, they've got this Nathan Sands from New York City, where Ronnie Dyler won the cup or the league title, whatever it was. But I still think that they need a, a suitable replacement for Nathan Patterson.
Absolutely. Right, we would normally go on and speak about players, but we've got some state of Scottish football breaking news, Regan. Graham Alexander has signed a new deal until 2025. That is probably the best business they'll do this month.
Yeah, like he's actually got two manager of the month to this season so far. He's doing really well. I'm still surprised that Tony Watt is at the club though. Dave, I want to get your thoughts on this because I know you're associated with Dundee United now, and and
Yeah,
he would be
I
a player.
mean,
He would be a player that they would want to trade in January and say, well, here we go. We've got Tony Watt in the door. But in terms of Graham Alexander, I think he's doing a fantastic job, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing the Shaw from Celtic playing for him because I think he's a very attractive manager to play for. You look at Neville was on Sky Sports Football saying one of his biggest regrets was getting rid of Neil Alexander at Salford and Graham Alexander at Salford because he basically jumped he pulled the trigger too quick. So I think Graham Alexander could be a really good manager in future, and he's shown what he can do.
mhm. I think in the Tony Watt situation, first and foremost, Regan, I think it's more a Dundee United situation than a Motherwell situation because obviously Tony Watt has made it very clear to Alexander that he wants to leave at the end of the season. And it's just a case of Dundee United come up with the money right now. Did Dundee United wait and get him in the free, or did Dundee United go on and pay 100 grand? No, I think if you're United in town courts, I think you go and do the latter because United have been struggling for goals, and with the exclusion of the Declan Glass strike recently when Dundee United beat the Hibs, they've offered very nothing. They've offered very little, and that's got to be a huge frustration for Dundee United. And there's been a reliance on the likes of Peter Pollitt and Scannon and Ian Hurks. You've got to remember, two of those three players was in isolation before the winter break. So the Town Courts hasn't had his promise to seek at that club. And for me, he's been very quiet on the attacking front. He's not brought in anybody in the last few weeks. I would be a little bit concerned if I was United fans.
Yeah, Dave, I want to get your thoughts on this. I've seen that Shankland is not enjoying life in Belgium. Now I know Dundee United got rid of him, but surely he would be coming to thinking again for a Scottish club.
You know, any United fan I've seen in social media, they're all interested in him, and he would be a very good signing indeed for Dundee United. Now, I'm led to believe that the priority and the prerogative is indeed on um, Tony Watt's signing, but there's been no conclusion, no idea on any time frames regarding Tony Watt. I mean, if they can get Tony Watt and Lawrence Shankland, it's bingo. It's bingo as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I just don't know if they'll push the boat over the two of them. I think they'll go for Tony Watt, and I could see Shankland at maybe an Aberdeen or a Hearts, because if you look at Shankland as well, I think you'd be wanting to get a club that maybe at the top end of the table that you can push on for trophies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Back at Motherwell, Zach Rudden has been linked with the club. Also subject to interest from St Johnstone as well. What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I've watched Zach Rudden quite a bit. I've seen him at New Douglas Park when Partick Thistle won 6-1 or 6-2.
6-1.
Um, he was fantastic that night, and he's clearly got a great eye for goal. And I think it would be a great move for for St Johnstone, to be honest, because they'd be missing a proper number 9 striker. I know they've brought in Shifty, but I'm starting to go off Stevie May. I think Stevie May's been around too long now. He's obviously brought the Scottish Cup and the Betfred Cup last season, but if you look at him, he's getting on a bit now from his days under Tommy Wright, and I think it's time for Zach Rudden to maybe get a chance in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hearts, Nathaniel Atkinson has signed for Hearts. Hearts are going down the Aussie route, a bit like Celtic.
Yeah, quite impressed with this because it shows that the Scottish games are being a bit thinking outside the box. You would say, Dave, and I'm really impressed by Hearts because I'm quite impressed with the guy. Is it Devlin that they have in
He's going to be
midfield?
devil in there. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I think he's been a great signing, and I like the Japanese guy they had last year. Was it Machino? Machino. I thought he was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I quite like the outside of the box signing from Hearts. So I'm impressed by them, and I think they're going to have a very good season under Robbie Nielsen.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of Hearts, first and foremost, is Robbie Nielsen's business done? Is he wanting more, do you think? There's obviously Jamie Walker talk about him going to Bradford. I think I'm led to believe that's complete now.
Yeah, well, Jamie said it started off well with Robbie when just before Robbie went to MK Dons, but yeah, I think it's a right move for him. In terms of Hearts, I see them going in for a centre back, maybe a striker, because um, even if Souttar doesn't go, they've got a lot of players that are a contract. They've got Michael Smith at a contract. They've got a lot of players that they need to tie up. Someone that I've seen on social media spoke about earlier was Stuart Finley. Now, Stuart Finley would be a great signing for Hearts because he just before he left for USA, um, he um, he got his Scotland debut against I think it was San Marino, Dave, and
Yeah,
yeah, and he showed his proper qualities under Steve Clark. So I think that would be a great acquisition for Hearts, and I could see them going for Shanklin, to be honest.
yeah, absolutely. Right, on to Hibs. They've also completed the latest signing, but I've been impressed by Ewan Henderson. I think he's a good addition for Hibs.
Yeah, he's a very good player, and he showed that again when Celtic played the third best team in Spain, Real Betis. He played in that game and he scored in that game. So, and obviously Sean Maloney knows him through his time in the Celtic academy. So, no, I'm impressed by Sean, and I'm impressed with Ewan Henderson. And even though I would have liked to see him stay at Celtic to win trophies, I'm impressed by his selfishness at this time, stages football in time, because sometimes in football you need to be selfish and say, right, what is the best move for me? And the best move for him is to play football and hopefully get in that Scotland squad in a couple of seasons.
I think it shows where Sean Maloney's at just now. He's got contacts, in particular in Belgium, and I think that was influential in getting Rocky Bushiri in the door at Easter Road.
Yeah, I spoke about this before about Kevin De Bruyne saying that John Maloney was a great coach and how that all the players trusted him. Now, if you've got Sean Maloney, um, uh, being being sort of by Kevin De Bruyne, then surely Paul Hanlon and Ryan Porteous will buy into him, Dave. You know what I mean? Like the guy obviously knows what he's talking about, and every single time I've seen him on Sky, he's the only pundit that seems to have a bit of knowledge about him. So yeah, I'm impressed by them so far, and I'm just looking forward to seeing them play at Celtic Park next Monday night.
Absolutely. Oh, God.
I hope so. I'm just looking forward to next Monday because we'll finally get some football back, and then Tuesday we've got Pittodrie for Aberdeen against Rangers. So no,
Hallelujah.
I'm looking forward to the football being back, and hopefully Nicola Sturgeon can say that football stadiums can be back open.
Well, let's go on to that very briefly here. If Nicola Sturgeon pulls the red light, as she did before Christmas, there'll be a lot of unhappy clubs.
Yeah, there definitely will be because I'm going to say this, Dave. In England, they don't really they don't really care about the revenue from the fans. But in Scotland, Dave, the important thing for Scottish football is that they get money through the doors, and if you if you don't bring it in, then as Ange Postecoglou said last week, football's nothing without the fans, and I think it would just be a shame because if you look at it, for instance, down in England, um, you've got tonight's game, Manchester United against Aston Villa. Now that's a 76,000 sold out stadium tonight for that game in the FA Cup. Now, I'm not saying that she's going to announce 60,000 at Celtic Park next week, but surely we could get 35,000 spaced out in that stadium next week. There should be no excuses for it.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Right, you touched upon Porteous, and I'm going to ask you this question. Hibs have brought in Bushiri. They've brought in Elias Melkerson. And they've also taken Harry Clark. What does this mean for Ryan Porteous?
It means that he needs to up his game because I think.
Maybe long-term repercussions, do you think?
Yeah, repercussions in that he knows that he's not a guaranteed starter every single game. And people that have played football, see when you know you start every game, you don't perform as well. So I think that obviously they see. I think it was Clark. He was absolutely fantastic for Ross County this season. So it's proper competition for him. Because if you look at when Hibs have played this season, everybody always says, "Oh, Porteous and Paul Hanlon," but now they've got options there. They can switch it up. So Porteous knows if I have a good game, then I'm going to be in next week. But if I don't, then I'm not going to be in. So that's important when you get big clubs. When you get big clubs, you should have. If you've got centre halves, you should have four people fighting for two spots.
Because the thing is, Regan, is we've seen it when Hibs played Aberdeen before Christmas and when they played Dundee away from home at Tannadice, how the impetus was there, how they were proactive on and off the ball. And this is a Hibs side without Chris Muella, Melkerson, Henderson, Clark. What an addition those four players are going to be for Sean Maloney.
Yeah, Dave, see the most impressive thing for me was it's the clear direction the club are going in. The club want to be up there and challenging. I know people will say, well, it's a bit harsh on Jack Ross, but maybe the club just got a bit stale, Dave, where they just thought we need a bit of freshness, a bit of time to bed on new ideas, because sometimes even though like managers can be very good managers, sometimes players are sick of hearing the same message. And if you look at Sean Maloney, he's clearly told the board, if you're going to back me, then I'm going to bring you success. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them next week at Celtic Park.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, Hibernian have rejected a $2 million bid from Al Fasali for Martin Boyle. That's a statement of intent as well, because $2 million is a lot of money in football circles, and in particular Scottish football circles. And I think it's a good stance from Hibs that they're not letting Boyle go away on the cheap.
Yeah, Dave, it definitely is, because I've been on this show and I've spoke about the Scottish football not being able to get the fair price for the players, and I think in terms of Aberdeen, I know they bid with it 500k in the summer window, so I think Hibs will be looking for maybe 3.5, and even though the club will bid the money for you, Dave, I just don't know if Martin Boyle would want to go to is it Saudi Arabia. I know it would be a great lifestyle for his family, but his wife plays for
the women's team.
She plays for the women's team. His son is a big Hibs fan as well, so you take all of that into account. But this could be life changing money for him, because I don't imagine he'd be on a big deal at Hibs. So yeah, but because I think it's important to stress as well that Martin Boyle was at Dundee only about 4 or 5 years ago. Remember, he got a swap deal for it. Was that Alex Harris? Remember Harris? A swap deal where I think it was Pat Fenlon sold Alex Harris and no, yeah, but I just think that in terms of Martin Boyle, he obviously loves Hibs, and I think it would be the wrong move. But if you're Hibs, you're trying to get as much money as possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Celtic or maybe someone down south tried to lure him in the last couple of days of the transfer window, because we know what it's like. If see if this bid's coming, see this bid that's coming from the Middle East. This could be the start of the bidding war for clubs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think Hibs have been more proactive than Hearts based on the fact that Souttar looks like he's Rangers bound and Hearts haven't taken a like for like replacement for him yet?
Um, I just spoke about there Stuart Finlay. I think if they get someone of that again, then it could be very interesting. But I don't think they'll be panicking, because I I was even thinking, might, might they just sign John up to a new contract, um, plus sell him in the window, so that they're still getting some value for him? Because if you're Celtic or Rangers, you would be totally daft not to take a sniff at him right now.
Absolutely. Right, we're going to go to Dundee United now. They've taken Carl Johan Eriksson. I'm hearing a lot of good things about this goalkeeper, Regan.
Do, do do you think that this is the end for Siegrist? Is that why Colin thinks he's off to Rangers? And
Well,
is it,
I think Eriksson saying Thursday was the start of something to come. Yeah, I mean Siegrist. What I think will happen is it'll be Siegrist and Eriksson just now because Trevor Carson's been loaned out to Morecambe. So,
yeah, I,
Carson will come back to Tardis end of the season, and Siegrist will go to whatever club he goes to, Rangers, Southampton, his Blake River clubs, obviously, and then it'll be Johansson. No, Eriksson, beg your pardon, Johansson. Why am I saying Johansson? Eriksson, sorry, and Carson for the number one and number two jerseys at Tardis next season. So I think it's the Tam Court's looking ahead.
yeah, I'm just surprised that they're already thinking ahead, because I think Siegrist could be a big part of the club for a long time. I like him. Like you say, I seen Trevor play yesterday. He played against Spurs, because I watched Spurs quite a lot. So yeah, I seen him play yesterday, and he played very well. I was scared that Spurs weren't going to win that game yesterday, Dave. But
Well, they were 1-0 down, weren't they not?
no, he's a very capable goalkeeper. So Dundee United have got a very good competition for that area anyway.
Absolutely. Right, Dundee United on the Tony Watt front. Mark McNulty's coming back from injury, I'm led to believe, but is the striker the priority for Tam Courts, do you think?
Uh, I think Tony will be the priority, because I don't think they need that much additions. I think that it's been that long since I looked at the league table, Dave, because we've been off for quite a while. But I think they're sitting fourth or fifth.
No. Because they were in a predicament results wise, they're seventh.
Oh my God! I'm telling you, Dave, that Dundee United weren't that far back a while ago. But yeah, I think Tony Watt could fire them right back up there again. Um, I think he could be the missing piece of the jigsaw, as you would say. And I think that Tam Coates has been a breath of fresh air. I know I've said that they were fourth or fifth, but see at the start of the season, Dave, Dundee United have been a real breath of fresh air in terms of the football they're playing, and the way that Tam Coates has been with the media as well. I mean, how many times have you interviewed him? I just think he comes across as a great guy, and it just shows you sometimes. Sometimes you need to be bold and not always give the typical Scottish managers. No, I'm not slagging people like Derek McInnes or someone like that. But I think it's time we had some fresh blood, and I think Tam Courts has been absolutely brilliant for Scottish football so far this
Absolutely.
season.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Howes came in here said, fancy Villa to beat United tonight. And on the transfer front, Regan, I know obviously Gerrard's obviously involved now, but he's in for Kerr Smith. He wants to sign Kerr Smith from Dundee United. That'd be a pretty good move for Gerrard, even though Kerr Smith's a bit of a young player.
Yeah, and um, he's been very good when I've watched him, and he's shown a lot of promise. And obviously Gerrard, one of the things that actually was quite funny was every single time he played Dundee United, he called him Dundee, which was quite funny. But uh, I'm ju- I'm just it's just good to see Gerrard showing his Scottish football knowledge, and hopefully he'll be back up for more players, because I think even when we see Brexit in a couple of years, I think we'll see more English clubs dipping into the Scottish market, because, like we say, Dave, people like to look down on Scottish football and say, oh, my grand could score up there, but like it's a great league, and there's some great bargains in there. Shown with Nathan Parson, who was not able to get a game for Rangers, who is now he's now at Everton for 16 million quid. So I'm just glad we're getting the proper value for the players, and also that Scottish players are showing their true value as well.
And I'll tell you one player that I've been impressed with. He's not in the Premiership right now, but he's in the Championship. The Inverurie Iniesta, Ethan Ross.
Yeah, he's a very impressive player, and I've got to say, Dave,
Rafe Rovers have done very well to have them in a 3 or 4 year deal.
I've got to say, Dave, there's some great talent in the Championship, and the Championship is a league that's been very, very good to watch this year, because there's only 2 points between four teams, or 3 points between
Yeah,
four teams. It's a great league to watch, and there's some great talent. I mean, you spoke about there, Zach Rudden. I really like the look at Shaw as well. I think Shaw was a bit unlucky when he was at Ross County, but he's now shown he's got a bit of promise about him.
yeah, absolutely. So Livingston haven't done anything, but Joel Newblay's back, and that's a massive player. He'll be a massive player because Livingston have been short of goals. Andrew Shirley's done a job. They've got goals over the park, Livingston, but Joel Newblay, he's had a terrific loan spell at Broford. We'll be looking to keep that going at Livingston and go and score some goals.
Yeah, I mean, for a bro, I think Big Dick, he'll be a bit annoyed that he's away back to Livingston, because he's been the shining light, you would say, Dave, for a bro. And from a selfish point of view, I'd quite like to see them go up, just because it's the the fairy tale of Scottish football, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
um, as as Dick always says, that they're the best part-time team in Scotland, and they're definitely showing that this season.
Yeah, absolutely. St Mirren and Ross County have been fairly quiet in the transfer front, but I'm going to go to Dundee now. They got the news today that Sean Barnes got secured a new deal. He's been injured at the moment, he has been injured, but he's been back training. I went to believe, but he's been a massive player since arriving at Dens Park.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Dundee this season. I think James McPake goes about his business really well, and for them to tie down players like Sean Byrne and Paul McGowan just shows what the Dundee
Lee
are trying
Ashcroft
to
as
do.
well.
Say that again, Dave.
Lee Ashcroft as well. He signed a new deal as well a few
Ye-
days ago.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows the intent that the Dundee board are showing. So yeah, I think Dundee are doing well, and the only problem I see, I heard about Lee Griffiths as well. Have we got any update on Lee Griffiths? Do we know if he's
No,
staying?
pretty much. I think Dundee want to cut ties, and then obviously Celtic don't want him involved. And going on another striker, Jason Cummings has been subject of interest from Central Mariners, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert in Australian football. And Winfield. Do you think Jason Cummings is a goner?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, they love their beer over in Australia. Get some Fosters, and obviously the last time we seen Jason Cummings, he was a bit full of the beer, so Yeah, I think it would be a perfect place for him to go. No, seriously, Dave, I think Jason Covens has shown his quality, but I think this season um, it's not really went well for him. I know that James McPake knew him from his days at Easter Road. He knew Lee Griffiths, but I think now he'll be kind of regretting showing faith in those guys because they've not really they've not really done too well. You would say, Dave? Would you agree with that?
I think James Pick signed Cummings and Griffiths because they've been at other clubs and kind of done the job, and they devoted at that precise moment in time and went, he'll do well, he'll walk in, he'll do things. But when you look at it, they've both kind of stabbed McPake in the back a little bit.
That's a bit strong, but yeah, I know what you mean in terms of James McPake's basically giving Jason Cummings a second chance or a third chance at Scottish football because he's been at Rangers as well as being at Easter Road. But I think it's a shame that a player of his quality is not really showing it.
Mhm. Dundee are also in for Canadian international Jay Chapman. I'm trying to get some information on him for you. Let's get this here. Dundee are chasing the signature of Canadian international Jay Chapman. The 28-year-old midfielder is a free agent after leaving Inter Miami in November. It's understood Chapman is looking for a move to the UK. The Dark Blues are keen to bring him to Dens Park. Do you watch a lot of MLS, Regan?
No, I tried to watch it maybe the last few weeks because of Ronnie Dyla and Ryan Gold, who's doing well at Vancouver. But no, it's not a league I pay attention to much.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good signing for Dundee because Dundee have some good midfielders, but it would be good to strengthen and get some competition in there.
Yeah, I mean, competition's always good. I spoke about that when I spoke about Porteous and Hanlon getting competition at Easter Road as well because competition brings people on and they try harder if you got competition. Because if you take it back to a couple of years, when you see James Forrest has got competition from Patrick Roberts and Scott Sinclair, um, when you look back at Neil Lennon's time at the club, James Forrest had no one to compete against. He had Mikey Johnson, who was always injured, and I think competition's always good.
We touched on Mikey Johnson earlier in the show. I think he'd be brilliant for Dundee in terms of what they need if the rumour is true, because he was reportedly at St Andrews on Christmas Eve.
Mikey Johnson was.
Yeah,
I think it would be a good signing for a team because he's got all the attributes, but he's not shown it on a regular basis. So I think it's important for him to show Scottish football, show Ange Postecoglou, I'm your man because I can do it every single week. But for me, um, he's not doing it on a regular basis. And I think it's time that Celtic say, look, I think it's best you go out on loan, become a because one thing that's important, Dave, as well is he's never going to be an important player for Celtic. So as much as people say, oh, he's good to come off the bench, but see for him, why does he want to train all week and then come off the bench for the last 10, 15 minutes? He wants to be playing every single week. Do you know? So sometimes, well, if you look at players, sometimes it's not all about money. It's about playing football, improving, and then hopefully, in in one season or two seasons, he can be back at Celtic and doing really well.
yep, absolutely. We're going to fish off with St Johnston, and they've signed Nadia Chifchi, but I think they need more stability. I think they need more incomings and they need more stability on the outgoings.
Yeah, because like I said there, I think Stevie May is a difficult one because he's been there for so long. But I think it's time that St Johnson maybe got rid of the old guard, you would say, and
Yeah,
maybe sh- show, showing some faith in young players. Maybe wrapped it up and start again, you would say, because if you look at someone like Callum Davison, as much as he done well last year, that was with the players that have been there for maybe 6+ seasons. So I think it's time that he maybe stamps his authority on this team so we can see how good a manager he is at recruiting players as well.
Absolutely. That's all we've got time for, ladies and gentlemen. What a show we've had, Regan. We've covered a lot. We've covered every blade of grass tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great show, Dave. I really enjoyed it, and I hope people in the comments or people watching enjoyed it as well.
Okay, perfect. Back tomorrow, but for now, thank you very much. See you then.